Do we want to call this meeting of the Waters Pond Task Force Subcommittee on Dam Removal to order at 4 minutes past 5? Does somebody want to keep minutes?
I can. I've missed a few. I'll keep minutes.
That was Vicky. All right. So on the agenda, which I'm not too sure that I have in front of me, minutes from the last meeting. Did everybody get a copy? And
Yeah.
People have time to be able to read them?
Yep.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I move that we approve last meeting's minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay.
Yeah, let's make sure we can hear Sammy. Sammy, your video isn't on. It's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, something off with my camera. It's not, turn it on, but it's just like blank screen that shows up. Not sure what's going on.
It's fine.
I'm connecting from home, so maybe that's the issue. Not sure
Sorry.
about the laptop.
Don't worry. So we have 2 items on the agenda. We have no members of the public present, so I assume there's nobody wishing to give input from the public. If anybody joins, they can do that at the end of the meeting. And we have 2 items on this agenda. One to go through the slide presentation for the 3rd of April, and the second is to look at the poster presentation that Liz and I have been messing around with. So I'm going to hand over to Jeff as you put together the initial slide presentation. Do you want to share it with us, Jeff?
And you see it?
Yes.
Great. All right, so this was the outline we received from Toby and agreed to as a group, as a big group. I'm reminded that the poster will take care of the sort of the graphic representation of our work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll get to this, but the first decision would probably be not to have the graphic that I have in here.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we proposing? Rationale, benefits, costs, risks, uncertainties, things considered, not proposed. At the last group conversation, and I think this was captured in the minutes, I think we discussed my presenting the slides. I'm happy to do that, but also happy to, if anyone else wants to discuss that. So this is what I tried to do. Hope folks had a chance to look at it, or we'll go through slowly today to take a, to make sure we're hitting the points and agreeing to the wording. So first slide, what are you proposing? We could use that terminology. Toby can help us get sort of consistent with everybody else's. He was going to work on formatting, but the dam removal concept. So let's just eyeball this and help me with what's missing, what needs to be emphasized, what needs to be changed, if anything.
So how does this differ from what's in the report? The one place is the invest in adaptive management to address issues that arise like bank erosion and invasive plants. That wasn't in our report. Right?
Definitely, it's in our budget there. And I should say I've tried as much as I could to use this to distill the report, the points.
Right. That's the only one I saw, Jeff, that was definitely a scope of work that we didn't write about in the report.
I think we touched on it. We didn't write about it in depth, I don't feel like, but I feel like they're all touched on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the wording part of it that's weird is like, I didn't think of, I thought of adaptive management as we wrote it as like the plant piece of it and the bank erosion piece as stuff that we were looking at during the removal, but now I might be remembering it wrong.
I,
I'm trying to open it up, sorry.
Yeah.
no, I do recall that when we discussed it, there was definitely the invasives management in there,
Right.
but I thought that we had discussed the if during a particular rain event or something happens where the course of the stream starts to erode in a particular edge, that we would be able to put down the beams. I can't remember the proper terms for them, in without having to go through the whole paraphernalia that we will in managing the channel at the beginning, but it would be like a quick fix to deal with an eroded bank, or whatever. I know we discussed that, but did we write it down?
Yeah, I do see it on page 28, but it's kind of like a 5-year plan. So yeah, I don't know if we want to talk about what their day one versus ongoing as separate. So it's like, to me, maybe that goes last because improving public access is happening right away, right? That's the proposal is like, let's remove the dam, let's design the channel to Scout Island and Comm Ave, let's improve public access.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, having it kind of like, here are the immediate things, and then
it's like there will be
then
a
also
5-year.
continuing on to make sure that things are
Right. And then you do talk about elsewhere that waterfront trail maybe not, like, so kind of it's not as required, but so it kind of falls off. So I like the order then if it moves out of the initial.
Yeah, I guess the only thing, oh, wait. I'm now thinking, when you said that with the things that are falling out, because if we want to sort it by how we're costing things, I
Yeah.
do think adaptive management is part of the base proposal.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of those
Or
things,
it's scenario B, so it's like one of our like, yeah, we really need to do this.
because if we don't, then we will have invasive plants.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that it's critical that we don't have. God, I can't speak English.
So then we do say proposed future amenities. So is that not part of the initial project? Is the interpretive panels and the Comm Ave parking and boat launch and
It's that different scenarios in how we costed it out in the budget.
yeah.
So it's like so I moved up on, so the 32 has the kind of high level budget. And so it's just like base A is just the removal. Then you add on B is the adaptive management. C is historical and recreational amenities, and D is the trail network. So it's just how they broke it out for the costing piece of it. So,
and I'll say that I don't remember that level of detail coming up in our small group conversations, how the budget would be formatted. I think Toby was trying to get some common formatting among the different proposals. Yeah. And since the dredging proposal had these discrete scenarios, like the small, medium, large dredging volume, the budgets ended up with in this kind of scenario format. But I, in my mind, and I think as we've all discussed, and as we express in the document, we all see these other components as central to the comprehensive proposal, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I guess any of us could say like, yeah, lop this one off, lop that one off, save $100,000. But anyways, I thought, at least among this group, I would communicate my thinking is that these aren't add-ons like,
Okay.
yeah, maybe we won't do the
Okay.
trails. We talked about it, but maybe we won't do it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I do also think that that might be like, we can think of it as like those costs are helpful when we're talking later about, or like in the beginning, how they talk about like, some of these things end up in one space, but you can do it in other spaces. So I think having it costed that way can kind of be like, oh, well, if we did go one way, but then we were looking at this historical and recreational stuff, then we have that line elsewhere. And so I think it does help with the mixing and matching.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the simple concept. Moving along, but I guess let's throw out the idea that if folks have any like edits or word choice things, you could send it to me afterwards. I don't know. And then if I think like, I think that kind of changes the meaning, I don't know, maybe we
Yeah.
all discuss it some way. But I think that's a possibility too, because we're just having a quick look at this. So the next slide in the deck I sent you was this one. But I mean, I think a graphic would be saying, it's worth 1,000 words, but if we're held to sort of text and my blabbering on, then I'll do my best.
I think we can keep it there, I think, though, because I feel like a presentation without pictures is so boring.
Right.
If Toby
And then-
decides to get rid of it, that's one thing, but I don't feel like we should get rid of it. Like, I feel like it's very helpful when you're presenting to be able to talk about this kind of stuff.
Actually, what I could do maybe is, and I was just playing around with this slide because you have to zoom out to get this trail in the frame, but then it's kind of hard to understand what's happening down here. Maybe I just use one of these, like the one on the left, and then put these bullets
Yeah, I think that's good.
on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I agree with
Breakthrough. Good. All right.
I
I'll
think
work on that.
it's almost
Sorry.
it's almost impossible to conceptualize what the bullets mean without
Mhm.
the picture, I think. So
Agree.
Yeah.
they do go together.
All right. I won't try to do it right now, but I'll work on it. Okay, let's look at these rationale benefits again. My attempt was to just distill from the document.
Can you go back to your visual, Jeff, for a second? Something I think that would be helpful is to label Neshoba Brook, the existing brook.
Do you think where would you suggest I label that, Vicky? And then sort of a related question is, I know we got pushback when we tried to illustrate the channel.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't illustrate the channel, but like at the top is Fort Point Brook, right? Should we label Fort Point Brook?
So Neshoba and then Fort Point is
Yeah.
merge is sort of coming in here.
'Cause-
Yeah, okay, I'll try that.
Because some of the things that I know that the FAQs are going to try to do, I know the planning group decided to not publish them and asked, Friends of Warner's Pond to publish them if they want to. So I think Friends is going to publish FAQs, and some of the questions we're getting is, where is the dam? Where is the brook? Where are these things we keep talking about exactly? Because not everybody knows it as well as now we all understand it. So I think labeling is very helpful. Because you're saying restore Neshoba Brook, people might be like, well, where is it that it's, you're restoring?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's fair. And we are being careful to not suggest that we're restoring it to its 1600 condition. I think we're getting across that, we're restoring the brook so that we'll be a brook again, and we're restoring the wetlands, but we're not at any point suggesting that we're trying to wind back time.
Right. Okay. So any off notes here? Missing.
Can I just ask a question? When you say the third bullet, restore natural ecological processes, I understand the sediment dynamics. I'm not too sure that I understand what you mean by hydrology there.
It's just the natural river flow, the floodplain dynamics. I can either delete those, I could get sharper on what I mean.
I think it would be better to use something. I don't know about the others. You may all understand it fully, but hydrology seems like a very technical term, and
Yeah.
I think that it would be better to use terms that we might be more familiar with. I don't know what it should be, but the sort of things you just said would help.
My other question is the fifth bullet, improve water quality and reduce temperature of water entering the Assabet.
Mhm.
I mean, I generally is it a big enough benefit that we feel like it's important to talk about in it? Because I feel like we spend a lot of time in our own meetings being like, it's small, or I don't know. I just feel like we spend so much time in our own meetings wrapping our heads around it. Do we, I feel like I'm talking in circles. I don't know. I mean, I do think it's a rationale, a benefit of it. I don't know how important it is, and if it's going to derail some of the importance of the other things that we have there. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does, but one of the things that I know we've had a lot of back and forth about it, and most of that back and forth has been around whether brook trout can use it and whether it's a cold water stream and all of that sort of stuff. But one of the things that struck me recently was Oars was doing a survey of mussels in the Assabet. Are you familiar with this, Jeff? It was in their newsletter.
Yeah, I've heard them talking about the work. Yeah.
And they found that the the mussels themselves getting up to the dam were very, very scarce, and was signified that they have to do a lot more work. But it would imply that even a relatively small drop in temperature would favor the mussels, because there were mussels further down towards the Assabet where the water was, half a degree cooler.
Just FYI, there are mussels in the pond.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know whether it was a specific type of mussel or whatever, but I know there was concern about it. So I don't feel as though we have to take away the fact that the temperature and hence the oxygen carrying capacity, which is much, much more important than a half a degree change in temperature. Doesn't sound very much, but a half a degree change in temperature is quite a significant increase in oxygen carrying capacity.
Yeah. And it was, remember, 1 degree Celsius temperature
Right.
difference, which is almost 2 degrees Fahrenheit on average over.
And
So I heard what I thought we heard, and separately, I was talking with more of an aquatic biologist, and somehow this conversation came up, and they were like, 1 degree, that's whatever, 1 degree Celsius, that's significant from a
yeah.
Okay.
And was that agreed to in your small group discussions, Jeff?
Yeah, it's still mentioned. We still have a few sentences about this, or maybe it's 1 sentence in the report. And again, yeah, this is information that's in the report. I'll tell you 1 bullet that's not on here, and we could put it on, and is the greenhouse gas thing. So that's an example, Liz, where in the big group, we kind of wrung it down to the difference without a distinction.
Where did the small group end up on that, Jeff? Because I know it was
Yeah.
getting pretty testy at one point.
Yeah, we left the language in there that we'd last talked about as the big group, saying that there would be we forecast a marginal decrease in greenhouse gases based on this idea that methane emissions reduced and carbon sequestered through the into the peat soils, the organic soils.
Right.
So the language is in there. It's not on this slide. I'll point that out. But maybe let's see if anyone would suggest to change that fifth bullet, and we can, again, these are bullets to quickly allow us to expand a little bit. I hope I'd have time to do more than just read the book.
Yeah, I know. Remember, this is going to be so fast. So asking Jeff to add more stuff here and more technical information is going to be almost impossible.
No, yeah, that's why I was like, do we feel like it's worth it if we feel like are we going to be able to get into it enough if we?
No, I think
No, not the water quality stuff.
I think you're better off saying, what are the best things to spend a minute on and to make the biggest impact of this proposal? And if people want detail, there's a whole report.
Yeah.
To me, that one is significant. That the temperature, dissolved oxygen, nutrients is sort of
great. So let's leave that.
I think that it would be good to, in that, somehow or other get the concept of dissolved oxygen in there, Jeff.
Yeah, let me
Malcolm, can you be closer to your mic? Possible.
Oh, sorry, yeah, maybe I should put
You're starting to relax on a Friday afternoon.
Malcolm, let me think about how I might script this and either parenthetically add nutrients and dissolved oxygen, or just verbalize that, just say what we mean by water quality.
That's fine too,
yeah. Okay, keeping moving, unless others. Go ahead.
Actually, as I'm looking through this, I feel like the last three, when you might be able to consolidate that into one. I guess it depends on how you're thinking about, you'll talk about it, but that might collapse into one, and then you can make everything a little bit bigger and a little bit more. But that I think is up to you and how you feel like you're going to talk about it.
Okay, that's a good idea. The budget is pretty self-explanatory. This is cut and paste from the proposal. It's not the detailed budget because I think that just wouldn't work. Well, it wouldn't work on a slide. I don't think that would be good. We can go into more detail if we'd like. Does anybody have any questions on where we ended up with this lower and upper concept? The differences again are up here. This would be this would add essentially twice as much as we had initially budgeted for channel establishment, and the upper does. And there's sort of the going with the upper range of design and permitting, and then that's the only difference. So it's just up it's related to the channel. Risks and uncertainties, again, pulled straight from the text. I could use clearer language if folks think it's needed. And this doesn't quite perfectly match the slide, the posters I was just looking at.
Do we continue to need the agreement with the DOC? Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The agreement with the DOC, I thought that we had that, but do we not?
Just a verbal or kind of email. I guess it's a written approval or
some kind of contract.
Small C.
I think it's the same sort of thing as the dredging group has. Like, yep, we've talked about it. It seems like it'll be reasonable, but have official.
The license or whatever it is.
Okay.
Julia said they've established that in other settings, but yeah, who knows
Right.
if Jeff
Mhm.
retires or different people get involved.
Mhm. Fair enough.
And then, am I forgetting anything here? I could,
Well, before, what about the title issue, land ownership? That has to get resolved before the dam can be removed? That is in the report of a risk, I think.
how to put
There's
this
the wording of
down
some land
to-
titles suggests that if the dam is removed, there could be a conflict between the wording of the title and the ownership of the land exposed. Before work can begin on the dam, legal advice will need to be sought, all titles reviewed, and fair mutually acceptable agreements reached.
How does that work? How does that last bullet work?
Oh, I see. There you go. Okay, sorry.
If you talk it through, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that-
Okay, perfect. Sorry.
yeah, maybe
Engineering costs.
establish. Let me maybe say.
Maybe to legally establish boundaries or something.
Yeah, I looked at. Yes. All right, I'll work on that language.
Okay, it's just I just want to make sure it's like a legal thing. It's not just us like coming up with
Yeah.
boundaries or something like that.
understand.
It's not like work we need to do or EA needs to do. It's kind of this other effort.
Good catch. And then this was all we had in the thing. I think I was running out of gas, or I had to run when I got this slide. Very short.
Is it extended boardwalks or boardwalks over wetlands or something, right?
What we have in the, I think what we have in the final proposal is just the piece around the boardwalks
Right.
behind the house on Sam Ave. So,
But considered but not proposed was through the wetlands, right?
Yeah.
And I do think for the first one, it's dam removal without channel stabilization or public access amenities. It's basically just spending $1.1 million and walk
Yeah.
away from it.
mhm.
And that is not something that we were prepared to do.
Oh, I see. Extended boardwalks. Okay, this was,
Yeah, that
Wait,
first one from the very beginning, we talked about
yeah.
making you
behind
want one in your
the-
backyard, basically,
Right.
on the newly exposed
Yes.
land.
Mhm.
So not the bridge one, because that
Oh,
is
yeah.
another one we removed from here but considered. I don't know if you want to put that in.
Yeah, so I tried to capture that with this idea from the ag fields to Lawsbrook
Okay.
Road.
And Jeff, that middle one, it's not without, I thought it was that it was like replacing the dam removal with the dam. Replacing the dam with a rock ramp, so the dam would still be removed
Yes.
with something else.
Say
it's
that again?
replacing the dam with a rock ramp that could mimic a natural free-flowing stream with riffles
Yeah.
while maintaining Warner's Pond at a higher level.
Yeah, so
Okay,
Dam would
right.
still have been removed.
Okay, so it's replace dam with
Mhm.
I like that. Okay, that looks good. Okay.
Yep.
Do we want to look at the poster?
Yeah, just a question. Is Toby going to reformat these? Because right now they're really rather uninspired. Not a criticism of you, Jeff.
Understood.
But they could be made to pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to do that, or is Tony going to do that so that all of the presentations have the same overall format?
I think he will put them in some sort of format. I will think about, certainly we could put a graphic on this slide,
Mm-hmm.
combining it with this. We can, I don't know if I could put a graphic on this of
Well,
sort of,
even without that, the white background with the black text
oh yeah.
is not the very best for these. I mean, a dark background with white text is much more legible from a distance.
Agreed. Yeah, I
that sort of
liked,
thing.
and in our small groups we had presented in this kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I honestly I was just focused on it.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's okay. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah, that looks better.
Okay, I'll stop share, but I'm going to make a note on formatting.
All right. Let me work on this. Oops, I need to share. Right. But if we're ready to move on to the poster,
Mhm.
I don't quite. Do you want to talk about this, Liz? Should I lead off? How are we going to do it? We haven't rehearsed this.
Well, so I get so at our last meeting, we talked about that idea of sort of, oh, it'd be really cool if we could kind of highlight what this biodiversity idea looks like. Like, here are the different, like, here's what's going to be in these things. Like, what does it mean? It's one thing to be like, oh, there's gonna be all this shrub swamp, but like, great. And so we started with this idea of like we pulled some of the information from the natural plant community stuff, Jeff, that you had found on the mass.gov. And we're like, pulling sort of the high level stuff around that. I tried coloring in that map to make it a little bit more legible from farther away. I don't know if that really, then I petered out. So the two different greens are still there, but I can continue on that path if we feel like this is useful. But then when Toby kind of sent out that recap, I didn't really leave the meeting remembering
No, I didn't
he
either.
wanted us to have this stuff on the poster. So then we were kind of trying to figure out how to get some of that information that Toby was looking for to be on the poster. So that's what we are looking at here. It's kind of a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, 'cause what's missing is the risks. He wants the risks of each.
I think that's down.
Oh,
here.
there we go. Okay, yep.
Yeah.
At the
It's a
bottom.
really, really big poster.
Yeah. And is
Yeah.
that the size is that the size we've been given?
They didn't give us a
Haven,
size.
has not given us a size.
I'm guessing they're all gonna be the same size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And so
this,
some of this text might end up like really, really small.
well, this is set for a 3 foot wide by 4 foot high poster, and if I put it at 100%, that's the size of the text of what it
Go
will
down to the bottom.
actually be. Yep. So
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's too small for people to come up and read. If there's 5 people in front of this, are they going to be able to read this?
I looked at it and it's bigger than the text in the Museum of Fine Arts in their posters. There,
Okay.
when they have a picture up, they have a little thing on the side with the description and whatever.
Yep.
And this is 2 points larger than the text they use there. That was all I could think of. But it could be made larger, but then clearly the wording has to go down.
I was gonna say, so I think probably some of the stuff I wonder if some of the stuff that we talk about in the presentation, we can kind of consolidate that stuff down to similar bullet points now that we're talking about it.
And I think we will be staffing these, right? So we should prompt questions, and a little bit of text is okay, but
I don't think that's true. I thought we weren't going to. I thought what I saw last was that we were going to have each group present, then there'd be Q&A, present Q&A, present Q&A, then there'd be a Q&A for people to do all 3 at once, like now that you've heard all 3, And then there was gonna be 5 to 10 minutes at the end, I can't remember what it was, to put Post-it notes of questions. I don't even know how to handle that. That was very scary to me. Near the posters, but we weren't supposed to be answering anyone's questions at the posters.
Okay.
Right.
Because what we were trying to avoid by that, everybody go to your corners and answer people's questions, was that everybody gave a different answer to the same question, and then we would look a little foolish.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The,
Okay. So
perhaps
That's
we
what-
could just look at this to begin with as to whether this is what we want to do at all. The intention, as Liz said, was originally what we really wanted to do was to bring forward for people what the biodiversity, what the different, basically what it would look like.
Right, which is
And
helpful.
and you know, Liz's first draft of this had, you know, the text was much bigger, and we had, you know, quite large pictures of what it would look like. But then when we found out that we actually have to have the entire presentation essentially contained here, instead of the 2 paragraphs or the 4 paragraphs here being the entire poster, now they're just a small part of it. So
But what
that
about if what you're trying to get across, which I think is good, is because I think what they're saying is, first of all, give us the top bullets of what your proposal is, which I think is what you're trying to do at the top.
yes.
It's those 4 items. Maybe those become 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it's really clear. Those are your top bullets. Here's what we're trying to do with our proposal. 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
And then where you have the marsh, shrub, swamp, there's way too much text in there. To me, a poster should be like, this is what emergent marsh looks like, this is what shrub swamp looks like, this is what wetlands look like, and this is what deep marsh looks like, and your arrows are great. And you don't need to show 17 versions of any one of them. It's just like 1 or 2 photos could be way more impactful, especially if they were bigger. And then what is it going to cost? Which is great. Again, less text, because the text is already in the report. This is the poster, not trying to replace the report. And then what problems are anticipated? It's almost like, could you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 1 sentence under each one? You know, for more information, see the report. That's kind of what you want to do, and make this more graphic, which I think the fish, you know, photos of the fish are really good. Photos of the different environments are really good, because that's the first time we see some of these things, and putting them, you know, addressing them to the map is very strong. I think it's a strong idea, but to me, there's way too much text here.
I agree.
Be a poster.
I like the idea of illustrating those habitat types with pulling up a couple of the images that you have.
Yeah.
I also on the big image, I think not showing the channel is raises a lot of questions. I mean, that would be a question for me. Where's the river?
Yes.
And we don't have the 100% design plan, but we have our intention, like to tell the engineers, this is what we want to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be fair. It's confusing on the west side there about how things will resolve. But then through that hashed area northwest of Scout Island up to the deep pool, and kind of coursing down the east side of east side.
Yeah, I think we're partially like, how much effort should we put into this picture until we
Yeah.
Then fair enough.
Can you draw that in on that image, Liz?
Yes, I would want someone to double check that I am copying it faithfully from
And given that we have the best and worst case scenario, do you want to put both of them on there? Because it is going to come up. Just Friends of Warner's Pond is going to publish that other thing. So to me, it's like,
what do you mean best and worst case scenario?
For the channel.
Well, this channel's going to be the same either
I only
way.
thought
I see. Yeah. So Friends is probably going to publish the other stream channel.
But what is I don't know what that is.
I think it wasn't presented to the whole task force, huh?
But that's the whole thing is that the higher budget
Yeah.
the extra $700,000
Oh, I see.
is-
Pushes it
is-
away. Yeah, okay.
is to prevent that. We originally have budgeted and think that
Yeah,
1,000 feet of, channel manipulation
Mhm.
will do it. But if it becomes clear that 1,000 won't, we have budgeted
gotcha.
for the higher level, which
Okay.
will then, right, okay. So yeah, that was the intention.
Okay, so then we can say proposed channel. Right, that's the dam removal subcommittee's proposed route that we're gonna
Mhm.
work with the design team to
Mhm.
make happen. Okay,
Um,
So-
is to the location of the channel. I'm happy to glance at anything over the weekend.
Thank
There
you.
was that document that was in somewhere where it's kind of got the red line. It was in,
Yeah, I think that one was in the basis of design report.
Yeah. And then if
There's
we-
so many of these.
yeah, but over near Com Ave, we want to swing that closer to the access point because
yeah.
their estimate puts it kind of in the middle of that yellow large
Okay.
block. We want to engineer that.
Yeah.
I think on the I think making the colors pop more is fine by me. No design sense that I don't have a good design sense, but having the intermediate grade, sort of the hash marked, I wonder if that is providing detail, if it's important to have that level of detail or if it's kind of visual.
It's more that it was like, it had both the things there, so I couldn't I didn't want to make a decision about which one it should be.
Yeah.
Mm.
do you want to add the trail network to here since this is the proposed scheme?
Yeah, that's right. I could.
I think you should.
When I do mine, I like bring in the graphic into Google Earth, and then I've got the trail
Yeah,
estimate
I
in
think
there.
you
Or
should,
you
because
can
this is the scheme, right? This is what it's gonna look like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, which is helpful. It includes the trail network.
Yeah.
So you could add, I mean, you could freehand a loop up in the cornfields and then have an arrow up at the upper left saying like
To Wright Road.
to Wright Road to
Yeah.
Neshoba Brook Bridge or something like
Mhm.
that.
Okay,
And
that makes sense.
let me throw out one other idea in terms of those pictures worth 1,000 words. I really found the renderings from the alternatives analysis helpful to envision like what the ground level view might look like. It's not a guarantee, and I know renderings often
Mm.
establish a picture that some people may think, well, that's probably not what it's going to look like, or other people, I don't know. We had conversations as a big group about whether those renderings are useful.
I
I'd
just,
make a
as
picture
a
include-
person who uses renderings a lot, I thought they were terrible renderings. So
Yeah.
that's the only reason I pushed back. I just think that I would have paid a different consultant to do a better rendering. They're
Yeah.
not great.
Yeah, they're sort of hashed together.
Yeah.
It gives you a different visual
Mm.
reference.
Well, what
that
about the other
lot of
poster that you
people-
guys did? Wasn't there another poster that you showed? Like
Yeah, there was like a one
Brook.
page. Yeah, so that
photo.
was just a picture I took of Fort
Yeah.
Fort
Point
Fort
Brook.
Pine Brook in like August. Just to kind of, the reason so that was like when I was trying to, like immediately after I read the Toei's email before Malcolm and I had a chance to reconnect, that was my frantic like, oh, what are we supposed to do now? But yeah, it does have that image, and I picked that one because of the concept of it, like they think it's going to look more like Fort Pine Brook than downstream.
Mhm.
So I thought that would be a good one to put in there. It's like, maybe it'll look like this, but I that was just
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't-
good idea.
What
I
if
was-
you use that, Jeff? How would you feel about that?
That's fine. I like that. And Liz, that looked like the brook just to the west of the cornfields. Is that right?
Please hold, let me look at a map.
Well, why don't you pull it up? Can you pull it up here? Can you
Um,
share it?
Okay, can you see that?
No,
No,
No.
okay.
I'm looking at the
Wrong screen.
I'll stop share, I'll reshare.
While Liz finds
There
her.
you go.
Mhm.
That's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
Now it looks like Neshoba Brook west of the cornfields, but
Mm.
I could be totally wrong.
It is, wait, it is where you can.
Hold up the map. Jeff will know immediately.
It's true, I feel like I should
The,
just,
the trails north of
like
Lake
you can
Road.
kind of see, no, show, you can kind of see,
Can you
It's
hold
the
it up to your camera? Can you
yeah.
hold your phone up to the camera? No, no, your phone, Liz.
Liz.
Oh, I'm looking at a map, trying to remember where
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was.
yeah. Can you hold that up to the camera of the location where you were?
Oh, I don't have the,
Oh.
oh, wait a second.
It should
No,
be on
but I
the
probably
photo,
have
right?
it on in the metadata. I forgot about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we don't. I'm not fixed on where the location was, but just to the point that I think EA was saying that the stretch of Neshoba Brook north of the pond inlet would be a good reference channel. So
Yes.
from the confluence to the channel, which looks like this to my memory. So I don't know. It was more of a random
Is it
question.
close enough?
Yeah.
As close as the rendering.
Yeah, the thing that I did with it, can you see what's on here? No, I'm back to the poster. I need to
No.
stop the share and reshare. It is very frustrating.
That's Zoom.
So what I tried to do
Oh, yeah.
here, this is, I went further upstream. This is actually upstream. This is Neshoba Brook in Acton. Obviously it's the bed is a little more rocky, but this is up through the trail through time. So this is a long way, I mean, several miles now from Waters Pond. And it does give a sense of what the brook is like here to I think it's good to have the picture that we've been talking about from that west side, but to also be able to point out that the brook does flow for many, many miles, and it is actually navigable through quite a bit of that, way above where we are. Don't know.
Yeah, I'd leave it to you guys to choose some of those to illustrate. While we're looking at this portion of the poster, Malcolm, I'd say if we include any of these graphics, the proposed access at Commonwealth Avenue, that the sort of the dock, yeah, that one right there.
Yeah.
That looks like a very nice wildlife viewing and maybe fishing platform, but not a
Not a
boat
boat launch,
access.
Right.
And we had talked about accessibility. Maybe that ends up at Giroux. So anyways,
if
maybe
anybody
something
has a better image, I would love it.
okay, I'll send some images that we've used on some of the other posters.
Okay, that would be helpful because I spent a long time looking for something, but
Yeah.
couldn't particularly find something that was on a brook or a stream, and not on a big lake.
Yeah.
But I recognize this is really a wildlife viewing platform. Yeah.
Jeff, didn't you had like images on your presentation when you did it?
Yeah, I'll send that around because then folks can just cut and paste.
Yeah.
And any other photos that I've collected.
I mean, I'm gonna just pull this one up.
Yeah, when I first thought about the poster, I was thinking it will have like a lot of pictures to show what we're trying to. But yeah, I guess all the detail needs to be there as well. It just seems.
I'm gonna just quickly share. I can from National. Oh, Malcolm, you'll have to unshare. Okay, sorry. Yeah. This one here. I think it looks more like this. The one on the left.
We're not seeing
We're
this.
not seeing anything yet.
Oh, hold on. Now?
Yep, got
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I think it's more like this, where it's a simple wooden platform with a,
Launch.
no? With
Yeah,
this,
that something like that to communicate accessibility,
Yeah.
etc. I mean,
Mm.
actually, the fewer details, the better, probably, because it's just
yeah, it just looks so simple compared to something. It's just
Mm.
basically this, right? It's a way to get on to a
Mm.
boat and then push off.
Yeah.
But
I
same
like that.
here. They're all kind of the similar idea where
Mm.
Yeah.
the
Yep.
boat is on a side platform that pushes into the water.
So the one thing that actually, now that we're talking about picture things, one thing that Malcolm had brought up that I think is a good question to have answered is like, what do we think we have to worry about in terms of like taking images from the internet in terms of like copyright and stuff like that?
As long as you don't publish it for monetary use, we don't put it into the report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Wait, are we getting paid for this report, Vicky?
I'm not, are you?
Do you know
I forgot.
something the rest
It's kind
of
of
us
like
don't?
the it's
That's
kind of
why
like
I asked.
astronauts coming back from space. They got no
Oh, yeah.
overtime. Yeah. Same
No
with us.
overtime pay, right?
Can't wait to get paid for all these hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they get their mileage.
I just wasn't sure with the poster. If I were doing this at the university, I would do it happily, claiming fair use. It won't go beyond the university or anything. As long as we make the poster, we don't make duplicates of it. It's up in the building. People look at it. I think we can claim fair
Yeah.
use that way. But
I agree.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, we put things like this in our presentations when we're, up for an interview, but we do not publish it then.
right, yeah.
That makes sense.
It's going to look like this.
Mhm.
Great.
I see that National Park Service tag at the top right. FYI, there's if you ever need wildlife images, there's a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service free library of wildlife images, and I'd imagine maybe Park Service images are.
But yeah,
Anyway, yeah. You get the idea. That's what it wants to look like anyway.
all right. So you guys think that if we simplify the text here,
Yep.
this is the right path for us.
Yes,
Right.
way less text,
Yeah.
fewer images, but bigger.
Mhm.
Great.
Just a quick
So-
question, just regarding like the cost estimate.
Mhm.
Wouldn't it just explain if we have the table and not have to explain, or should we
Yes, I agree.
explain it as well?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Right.
Yeah, so that might just like focus, and because we're also presenting before this, so I don't think that needs to be like explained
Yeah.
whole lot.
Context will still have it already.
So that might look
Okay,
clean and easier to just follow through.
right. That will
Um,
enable us then certainly to increase the font size.
Mhm.
And I think we can
Um,
take out some language in the problems and
Indeed,
stuff.
yeah.
Definitely.
And then
No.
maybe we can, yeah, I think, Yeah.
And it also will enable us then, we had actually a couple of things that haven't gotten into this yet. One is your graphic, Liz, not graphic. Oh, what am I trying to do?
oh, the text about expectations.
No, sorry, I didn't realize I can't shrink this while I'm recording it. So I'm just trying to find what I did with your image.
Oh, for the image, my metadata was not on. I wrote myself a caption though that said a little bit upstream of where we put in on our anything to anyone.
Right. I can get it from here. So it was this one. It's a PDF. Let me just share it again. Sorry. I don't do this as my everyday life, and so I'm not that good at it. There we go. So this, there's the picture there, but then there was the desire to get some detail about the channel in there. Because that is one of the big questions that people have, is what is the channel going to look like, and whatever. So having this text does seem kind of important to be in there. I don't know what other people think.
But we're not presenting this information, so I wonder if we feel this is important, it should go into Jeff's presentation.
I wonder if not disagreeing with that, but I wonder if it could be simplified with the image to channel is expected to establish similar to Neshoba Brook above Warner's Pond, and here's an image or whatever set of images.
Right.
Could use depth and width, I think, from that memo if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think though, to Vicky's point, I wonder, Jeff, if it would be like really talking through like that. I mean, and we've kind of talked about this, like really being able to talk through like how the chat, like spending some time on how the channel is formed, its depth, and in the presentation. I hope hopefully, and I think we talked about this too last time, is like making sure we all truly understand why it is that it's going to form more similar to upstream than downstream, or why the expectation is that, with like the constriction and all that.
Okay. I'm going to just go back then to the poster itself.
So, Malcolm and Liz, do you guys want to take another stab at this, pulling out text, making a couple fewer images bigger, adding the trails and the channel? And maybe, to Jeff's point, maybe when you draw the channel, you can write 1 to 3 feet deep, blah, 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 whatever you wrote on the thing, you can put pointing to the channel.
Yeah.
Getting to this question of changes and edits. So Toby wants these by end of Monday.
Yep.
My slide work is relatively straightforward, so I'll work on that and send it out by Sunday. So folks have a chance to look at it and share any thoughts back.
Okay. Malcolm, maybe I can email you and we can figure out, maybe it might be easier to sit in person if we can.
Yeah, that would be a good thing. Yeah, I'm out for a bit of tomorrow. I'm going to go and protest Teslas, but
don't bring any fire wielding equipment.
I don't think I have even a cigarette lighter on my person.
Yeah, okay. So we
but yeah, we can do that. Maybe we could, I don't know, do you want to do breakfast again?
Yeah, let's figure that out
tomorrow, or
I have to double check what the kids are up to, but
yeah, if not, Sunday will work.
Okay.
We can do this, and I just can get people, so you can see this right now, right? This lower section here, we put a lot of text here, which, as everybody says, is too texty. This feels kind of, the fish feels kind of good because it doesn't have text, but it does say which fish are going to be there. It would be nice. I mean, just having these simple pieces, relatively little text, that seems to be good. But
those are good.
They might be enhanced by having, an additional graphic. I'm not
no
sure.
Adding, Malcolm.
Yeah, I think we want to
trying to take stuff away.
Yeah, I think we want the graphics that we have to be very purposeful.
Yeah.
Right.
So that like we're truly showing the stuff that needs to be.
And if you have space, you should be increasing the font, not adding stuff.
All right.
On
so
the,
that's good.
I think the fish are great, as others have said. If possible, in simple and there's room, you might add some of our freshwater fish that, are
Aha.
riverine. And then somewhere you might caveat, asterisk, or parentheses, anadromous fish dependent on removal of Talbot Mills Dam.
Yeah, that's over here, of course.
Right. Yeah, just
Um,
sort of connecting
Yeah,
this when people see the saltwater fish there.
yeah. So, yeah.
Okay,
And,
good.
Talbot, okay. So if you and I can work on this, Liz, either tomorrow or Sunday, we could get something out to everybody by close of business late in the day on Sunday, and that would give people time to look at it on
Yep.
Monday and give feedback. Would you be able to do that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you
You-
both for working on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a lot of work that you guys have put into it.
All right.
Awesome.
Any other comments or questions?
I think the only other thing that we had to just make sure we're set on is who and how we're gonna break up answering questions, if we're gonna have just someone do it, if we wanna each take on certain topics. And I know, because Sven was not sure he was gonna be there, correct? I believe
I
he said,
don't remember that.
I would recommend, having done these, that one person be the deflector. So like all questions go to Jeff. Jeff then says, Liz, can you, expound on that, please? Or Malcolm, can you share what you know
Yeah.
about blah, 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 so that we're not all going over each other.
yeah, that was sort of the idea between like if
And
someone.
if Jeff can answer it, he should answer it. If he needs one of us to weigh in, we'll weigh in, but more questions in less time is the goal, so we can get a lot of stuff answered, I think, because instead of transferring in people.
Jeff, do you feel good with that?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. If folks say, hey, I'd like to answer these questions, let me know. Or I might write to you. We've got a couple weeks to say, I'm probably going to give you these questions.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, if you were
Yeah.
like, I would like to, have someone be the expert on this, just reach out.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for scheduling everything, Malcolm, and setting this
Yeah,
up.
thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for participating. There is still nobody from the public. So unless anybody has anything else to say at 6:07, I will close this meeting.